So this is going to be weird, or at least this used to be weird. Unfortunately for me, this is the third time I'm doing this, so it's not so weird anymore. It's getting quite normal. All right, so because you can see what I can see, obviously as I move my head, it's going to move around a bit. If it gets too much, let me know. We do have a backup plan for this, but it's going to work a whole lot better if we can keep them on. So I try and keep my head still. So yes, we have Vision Pro. We've had one at ANZ for a couple of weeks now, and we've all had a little bit of a play with it. And we were a bit short on content tonight, so I'll put my hand up to do a quick demo. For those who don't know me, I go by Bok mostly. My real name's Rob. Most people forget that, but it's all right. I'm one of the organizers here. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is port an iPad version of a personal app that I've got to the Vision Pro using all the native good bits, and we're going to do it obviously wearing the Vision Pro. So step one is to get my laptop to disconnect from the stupid VPN so that I can start. So if you haven't seen the Vision Pro in person before, it works pretty well. We won't go into any of the immersive environment stuff here, although that's pretty good. Where am I going? We'll just get Xcode going. So first thing I want to do is connect to the laptop and get the laptop screen going. Yeah, cool. I remember my notes now. Control Center, mirror the Mac, this one. So now you won't be able to see it, but my laptop screen, well, you can see it. My laptop screen's disappeared, and now what's in my Mac is now a virtual window in space. And we can move that around. We can stick that over there if we want. We can throw it all the way down the back of the room. Oh, that's about as far as it goes. But that's still a 3-meter high macOS desktop, which is a bit much. Let's bring that back a bit closer. But it actually works, I find, really, really well. Especially if you're using your laptop, like actually on your lap, and instead of staring down at the screen, you're looking at a virtual window, and you can move it as it seems comfortable. What am I doing here? Right. So this is a personal app that I've built because I can't use anything work-related for this demo. It's basically a little F1 calendar app. It's designed for widgets mostly on iOS, but for visionOS there are no widgets, so we're just going to port the iPad app version. That's going to, apologies, that is going to send it to the simulator. I want it to run on the actual device. So I did this as a test, a couple of tests. It takes about 10 minutes to do, so it's not too bad for this one, thankfully. But hopefully the goal is to give you an idea of what's actually required to get it going. So this is the iPad version. I'm going to slip that over there. If the video drops out at any point too, please let me know, because I can't see that. Now, unfortunately, the whole deploying and running things on physical hardware is all done with Wi-Fi, because there's no cable to plug in with, unless you spend the extra $300 on one. But this is it. So this is the iPad version of the app. You can tell it's got the full white. It's not using any of the native Vision Pro controls. And this is just a little personal app that has the F1 calendar effectively in it. A bit of information about the race, the track, just for pretty graphics, so it didn't look like it was a completely empty screen. But the important bit for this was the data that's in there. So that's that one. I'm going to leave that running over there on the side for now. I need to recenter my thing. I'll bring it back up outside of Xcode. So it shows up in this little compatible apps bit. So let's pop that up again and put that back over there. So we're going to refer back to that as we go. So the first thing you want to do when you want to port your app to Vision Pro is to go up to your target. And I do have notes here that I'm going to refer back to. Yep. So what we want to do is get rid of this designed for iPad compatibility mode, because that's what you're seeing over there. All iPads run that way, and actually Apple opts you into them by default, so you have to explicitly go in and turn this off if you don't want your app to appear in Vision Pro. So we've got to turn that off, and instead we want to add Apple Vision, but using the native Apple Vision bit. And it does mention Swift UI there, but it does work just fine for UIKit. Just says it will be updated, yada yada. Turn that on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to change what's actually embedded, but I can't change that because you need to reload the screen because Xcode. So we're going to change this. So with the visionOS, you can't embed a watchOS app, and you cannot use widgets at this time, which is a shame because I think widgets would be very helpful for this. So we're just going to go in and turn those off. Allow any platform, just iOS for those. Same here, allow any platform. Otherwise, we're going to just get errors. It's just going to break. Cool, so that's it. So in theory, you could now build and run that. We are not going to do that because it's just going to break. What did I have next on my list? Oh yeah. The next thing we're going to do, and we'll take care of this because I will forget it otherwise and then it will look ugly, is our icons. So you'll see in your normal app icon that you have, if we drop that up, you can see normally you have your iOS, macOS, watchOS, they're all unified. Unfortunately, visionOS doesn't work that way. We need to add a separate one for visionOS. And what's different about it, and you might have seen this with some other platforms, but it's one icon, but it has a front, a middle, and a back. And it shows up as a pseudo 3D, so you can actually see that if I go to, it might be difficult to see, but the Voyager one shows it really well. When I look between Voyager and TestFlight, you can see they pop a little bit. So that's the 3D effect that you get from the from running that. So now we get to spend 10 minutes drawing an icon. No, just kidding. Nobody wants to watch that, so I made one already for it. Where is it? Icon. So you saw the icon on the previous screen. Nope, that's not the right one. I want back. So the requirements for this is the back must be opaque. It can't be transparency at all or it's going to throw an error. And then I just went really, really basic. Put a little shadow in the middle and a white at the front. So it looks like this one, but a little bit thingy. And I didn't realize you could do this until last night when I did it by accident, but you can actually preview it in 3D. So you can kind of see what it will look like as you go around. Okay, that's that. What else is next? Build it. All right, let's build. So with this app, like with a lot of apps, it's multi-platform, it supports iOS and watchOS, which means there's going to be a lot of conditional compilation directives, like this one. Is that code big enough for everybody? I can bump the font size up. Bump it up. Bump it up. I could always just make the window bigger too, but then I have to move my head more. So yeah, so we're missing a navigation path, and this is probably what, when you port your app to visionOS, is going to be deciding what you want your visionOS experience to be. So I've got two options here because the watchOS one is a lot flatter structure. It has a separate navigation path, but I want to more closely follow the I'm typing blind because I'm not recentering myself because it moves the thing around. So I want to more closely follow the iOS path. Which means the next thing to do is I can build and go again, but we're just going to keep hitting more of these. So let's go through and just deal with these one at a time. So this is the calendar list race cell. So if we go back to our app over here, the calendar list is this view here, which is just a list view of the exact same data that was there before. So we can go through this, we can say, all right, we want to show the race name and the flag. We don't want to just hide that like we do on watchOS. So yeah, we'll copy the iOS thing for that. And there's one more up here too. And we do like our group style, or I like the group style first of plain, so we'll copy that as well. That's not available for watchOS, that's why it's compiled out. Okay, next one. That was calendar list, yeah. So calendar view is the main screen that sits over the top of this, but I think it actually does a few more bits and pieces as well. So we'll go through these one by one. What have we got here? Do we want to hide the navigation back button? More than likely, yes. We want to copy the iOS user experience where we can. We want the toolbar to have the series stuff on the left. Yeah, and we want the thumbnail switcher on the right, so we don't copy the watchOS one for that. So we'll go iOS as well. Did I paste that? Yep, good. Just to make it nice, because otherwise I'll end up committing this demo code and then it'll look bad. The default view out of the two that's in that picker, we want it to be thumbnails because thumbnails looks nicer. Easy peasy. Next is the race view. So let's have a look at this one. Oh. So let's look at Australia. We want the header at the top. The header, I believe, has the race image, it has the name, it has the calendar button and everything. So we want to keep all of that. So let's pop that in there. Which means we want the header. We want the header view there. What else is there? We want the grouped list. I like grouped lists. We want to copy the rest of the navigation pattern for iOS, so that's good. And that won't compile because we're missing the extension that's down here as well. Easy peasy. Now I think that should actually be everything. No, we want to make copy the iOS app experience too, so we'll put that there. Great, so now that should build. While that's building, and fingers crossed it actually builds, a couple of things that I want to point out, or things to look out for. I can just see Tups in the corner, can't see anybody else. This is harder than demo. This is like demoing when you're doing a Teams presentation or a Zoom call. Can't see anybody. Things to look out for, right? So this is a fairly easy one, but there's some stuff that it just doesn't support. So the obvious one is there is no UIScreen from UIKit for this because there is no screen. It's just windows in space. So UIScreen doesn't work for visionOS. So any code you've got that uses that will need to be refactored out to support visionOS. There is no keyboard window. That's a surprise one for me because there is a keyboard, but because it's a physically separate window, and I can show you that. Let's find something that has, what did I have open in Safari last time? Pollen count, cool. That was danger for a second there. There should be, no, it's bad demo because it's actually, something that surprised me is that the universal control works over it too. So you can actually just send your keyboard and mouse straight up to Vision Pro, which is good and bad. Bad because you're trying to click on stuff in Xcode, but you're looking at a window over there and it doesn't like it at all. But at the keyboard, it pops up as a virtual window over the top in its own space. It's a fully separate window, so there's no keyboard management for visionOS. And then what was the last one that I had? Last one that I wanted to talk about, haptics. Haptics are different. Obviously, there's nothing you want to vibrate on people's face, so you can't use any of the haptic APIs. Okay, that's all done. Let's build and run, because that was successful. So that will disappear. Let's pop that up. We've now got the different shape, because it's using the default aspect ratio for a visionOS app. Still takes just as long to load, unfortunately. But you'll see it's now using all of the native components. So gone is the white background, and now we've got the glass-like effects. You can see it's done some weird stuff with the button and the different button overlays and the stuff that's there. This doesn't look as cool as it could either. Like that's fixed and not too good, but it actually that renders really nicely. So yeah, it builds and run. We've got that far, but there's some optimizations we could do to this. So let's start on this screen and clean up some stuff. What was I going to do? Oh yes. First thing I want to do is we want to go to the race view. So we'll start on this screen. I want to make this look a bit more full because we've got a lot of white space there on either side of the bar. So just make that. Oh. What else did I have? Non-sticky header, standard nav bar, hide calendar button. Yeah, right. Okay, so this also, well, let's build around that because I think it's a bit more obvious when you do it again. The other thing that's a bit annoying is because this is a new window every time, it's not going to go back over there. You have to pick it up and move it back over there. So we'll see now that we've made the images a bit bigger, that it's going to cause some navigation problems. Like we try to scroll this and it's stuck. right? So that's not ideal. So we want it, probably on visionOS, having the sticky header is not as nice as it is on the smaller device for iOS where you're using it in portrait. So let's get rid of that. First things first, the header lives here, it lives outside of list, which is how you do the sticky header in SwiftUI. So we want to move this in, move this inside the list so it's part of the scroll. Make that over there. And for visionOS. So now we've got, for iOS, the header is sticky on the top. For visionOS, it's now inside the list, so it should scroll. That means we probably, like that's having the, now that this scrolls, that means that that sticky calendar bar button that we've used to replace the back button is going to disappear as well. So let's just go back to standard navigation. Like it's nice, but it's not worth the extra effort. So we make that back for iOS. And there was one more thing I needed to do with that. Where is it? I think that's it actually. All right, so let's build and run that. Well, go back over there. Okay, so that looks a whole lot better. We just can scroll, we've got everything there. Now, something that I didn't realize you could really do until more recently is this is nice, lovely to look at, and we can make it bigger now so we can see huge track maps. But you can actually, and I'm going to live dangerously here, get right up in there. Like you can get right up and inspect your UI up close, see how well it goes. And then the last bit that you can actually do, which I also didn't realize, is when you're this close, you can just interact as you would normally. And I made it way too big for me to be able to reach the back button. Right? I'm not sure why you would ever want to do this because it's physical effort, but hey, it makes for a good demo. Like you can get right in there. All right, so let's clean this screen up. And then that's pretty much where I want to get it to, I think. So obviously the default buttons for SwiftUI are doing some capsule stuff that's there. So we want to go to, the thumbnails view, I think. It's this one. Somewhere here, right? Nope. Put it in my notes. Calendar thumbnails. Yeah, okay, it is calendar thumbnails. Oh, it's in the navigation. Here we go. So the navigation link that's here, right? So that's what's creating the buttons like that. So what we want to do is, and every time I do that, my keyboard input goes over there, which is annoying. For visionOS, I'm trying really hard not to look down at my keyboard every time I want to recenter my hands. For visionOS, we want to go let's clean that up before I forget. We want to go button style to be borderless, and we want the button border shape. So instead of that default capsule to be round and rect. I think that was everything I had to do on this one. Yeah. So let's pop that back over there. So that's much nicer. You can see now it's not showing the buttons by default, but when I look at each one, it will do the highlight that it normally does. That comes through. Cool, so there is one last thing that we could do better. And I will go back to, what's a good example of this? Let's go photos. Everybody loves to see photos of my dog, right? Let's go over here. So you can see on this one that they don't have the split view for changing selections. They've got the tab bar on the very left-hand side. That's the preferred UI paradigm for visionOS. So fortunately, it's fairly easy for us to do that here. Now, where was it? So the first thing I want to do is go back to the root of my app, which I just made cross-platform. We probably don't want to do that. We want it to be just iOS. And then I'm going to make a I should have made some background music for this talk. visionOS version. It's quite rhythmic, isn't it? visionOS version of the same thing, right? So now I have 3 platforms, 3 different things. So we want to make this a tab bar. Fortunately, this is all the same, so don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to make this a tab view. I need it to be, selection will be our existing state that we're using. Something that I always forget is that you can't use an optional with a tab view, it has to be a normal. So that's good. For our content, for each, no. We want it to be series.display cases, so all of the cases that are there. Series, you know what I should have done? I should have let it autocomplete, because now I forget what a tab view looks like. I'm going to do that again. Tab view. Thank you. That's better. Now I know what I'm doing. Even though I don't like how it does it. Yeah, right. Okay. I was very close. So we want the contents of the tab, which is the navigation stack that we have here. Pop that up into the for each. We need a tab item after that. Tab item. We can take our existing label that we've got, pop that there, and then finally we tag the series that we have input. And then we can delete all of this crap. So we're just switching from a split view to a tab view. Build and run. And I think this is the last thing I have on my list, yeah. So here. That's it. Now we have the tab view on the left hand side. Looks much more native. We've got the content front and center, nothing taking it up. If I were to start optimizing this some more, I would probably look at, changing the default size of the window, because we are windowed, much like macOS now. Changing the default size of the window to something that suits the content a bit more, keeping in mind that people can change it. And other macOS stuff that you need to do, like setting a minimum window size, because that's not helpful to anybody, right? And that's it. That's everything that I wanted to run through. Does anybody have any questions? And I'm just going to put that up there.
I have a question. Oh, never mind.
Yes, please.
I was going to ask where the microphones are. Any questions? Any other questions? Yeah.
Alex in the corner.
Oh, Alex.
No, other Alex.
So
yeah, that doesn't come. It just goes through the.
Okay. So the question. So thanks for the demo. It's awesome. For those of us that don't have these awesome things, what's a simulator look like, and how does it development look like?
It's not anywhere near as good. So you can build and run in the simulator. And it basically just comes up with a window with a virtual living room in it, and then it just has a window in the middle. And so moving around is not as good. You're looking at a tiny iPhone or iPad simulator size thing for something that is actually quite expressive. So when I did this demo for both, because that was my backup plan if I had to go that, it's a lot harder to see detail and nuance in the simulator than it is to see in the real thing.
Thank you.
Anything else? No?
So the question I've got, it kind of blew my mind in the point where we saw the icon very tvOS-like.
Yep.
So it makes you wonder, is this something they've been working on, or is it just something they've adapted for visionOS?
It's a very good question. I have no idea.
Any thoughts?
Might be a question for our panelists after this.
Okay. Hey, can you show us your persona, dude? Is he on there?
You want to make it even more weird? All right, yeah, we can do that. How are we for time? We've got plenty of time, so I can do some little bit of other stuff over there. Let's get that out of the way. So yes, it does come with all of the persona stuff. We can. I signed into a Teams call with it on Friday and freaked all of my team members out. It was quite good. But we can do a quick demo of it here. Whoops. So if we look at persona, can I make that bigger? No, I can't make it bigger. There we go. But it's actually really weird, right? It's using the under cameras to record, and you've got your hands as well. One hand, two hands. It's using the... Sorry?
Yeah.
I can't. It's not... You can't resize the... I could probably walk into it. Here we go. It's a bit... But it's using... like it is fully 3D, which is weird. Very weird when it scans your face for it. But it's using the under cameras, so if I do weird things with my mouth, it does reflect that. So even though I can't really see that, if I wink, it's recording your eyes and tracking all of that, raising my eyebrows, like it's really, really weird. It's very uncanny valley. Like, actually my hair looks pretty good. I did all right.
I want this buck all the time.
This is what you're going to get all the time. So yes, that's there. Was there anything anybody else wanted to see while we're here?
Can we see the eyes?
You'd have to come up
Okay.
to do that. I can't put that on the screen. Actually, it is on the screen. If you hit the shrink button.
The eyes aren't that good. I don't see anything.
We've got no eyes.
Got no eyes? Yeah. They're not that obvious. Like, they're very not obvious. To the point where this screen is pretty much useless as far as I'm concerned. They've put all of that weight on the device and it's not there. Anything else?
I think it just dropped out.
It timed it perfectly. It says it's still mirroring, so that's all right. All right, thank you very much.